Why are black Africans doing way better than African Americans?
Black immigrants are more successful than black Americans because they outwork us. I said it.
And it always sounds the same. Africans come to America, get degrees, become doctors, engineers, and lawyers. They build businesses. They buy homes. They hustle. And then somebody says, why can't African Americans do the same thing?
We are kept from accumulating wealth, and we are kept from accessing capital because the banks of America are not going to finance a black economic revolution.
Why does immigrants do so well in the United States? Have you guys noticed that? It's very simple. Because they came from a country that doesn't even have any opportunities. So when they come to the United States, they found the opportunities. Because Americans are lazy, complacent. And I always tell people this, comfort is the biggest downfall of the entire nation. And it's easy to be comfortable. It's easy to sit on the couch and binge watch a TV show all day.
You have access to capital. You needed money to build that. You needed money to hire the builders. You needed money to buy that shit. Where did you get it? You either came with it or you got it from an American bank.
Many people keep saying that black immigrants in America are more successful than black Americans. But are there some facts that can support this? Are there some reasons that would make black immigrants become more successful than black Americans? I want us to watch these clips, analyze them, hear from these creators, their opinions, and then at the end, I will come back with more analysis that will make you understand why people keep saying this and the truth behind it. As you're watching, I want you to like the video and drop your comments down there in the comment section. And please don't forget to subscribe.
The people that are willing to cross the Atlantic Ocean, you're already selecting for a hyper. Do you think poor people from Kenya are coming to the United States?
They are.
You think poor? No, they're not. Dude, Nigerians in the United States are the highest immigrant group of PhDs. More than white people, more than Chinese people, more than anybody else. Some of your most highly educated groups of people in the United States are people from Kenya, are people from Nigeria. The experience of an African immigrant in the United States is way different than the experience of an African American. If you're an African immigrant, you might as well be white or European.
What?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Just what part of that do you understand? If you're an African immigrant coming to the United States, your outcomes in life, the places that you live, the education you have, you're more on par with an upper class white person than you are with a person who's a descendant of
the biggest difference is the mindset. It's not the circumstances,
it's not the
not the
mindset.
environment.
It's the families that you come from. Somebody that comes from a family that's driven enough to get their children or themselves to move to the United States from Africa. This is a highly driven family. This is a lot different than somebody whose great-grandparents weren't allowed to buy a house in the city because they were redlined out by a bank in the United States.
Highly driven is a mindset.
Bro, literally speaking, I get what you're saying, but you can't say that because people might get inspired from watching a TV show. You don't know why they came here. So you can't really say that.
No, but I'm saying you're selecting for the people that were inspired enough to come over.
Why can't African Americans do the same thing? You all have been here all this time. You've had grants, loans, scholarships, opportunities. What are you doing? And then the other side fires back and says, hold on, immigrants get opportunities we don't get. The system treats them differently. And just like that, we're in a fight. But before we pick sides, let's slow this down a bit because there are facts here. And then there are some assumptions as well. So, first fact, many African immigrants in the United States are highly educated. Nigerians, Ghanaians, Kenyans. Consensus data shows some of the highest degree attainment rates in the country. That's real. But what doesn't quite get said out loud, immigration, at least to the US, is very selective. You don't randomly show up in America on a student visa or a skilled worker visa. You qualify. You're vetted. You often already have an education, English proficiency, financial backing, or professional credentials before you land. So we're not comparing average populations here. We're comparing a pre-selected group of high achievers to a population whose history in this country began with enslavement. That's not really a fair baseline. Now let's deal with the other claim. Are immigrants getting special grants or free money that African Americans can't access? Broadly speaking, no. Federal aid like Pell Grants and student loans are available to citizens and eligible non-citizens. In many cases, new immigrants don't even qualify for certain benefits immediately. Undocumented immigrants definitely don't. So the idea that there's some secret pipeline of government money just flowing to African immigrants over Black Americans doesn't hold up under policy reality. But here's where it gets a bit deeper. African Americans aren't just Americans who didn't try. We are descendants of people who were legally deliberately blocked from building generational wealth for centuries. Slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, redlining, exclusion from home loans, underfunded schools, mass incarceration. And if you think about it, that's not even ancient history. Redlining maps existed into the late 60s. Some of your grandparents, definitely my grandparents, were directly affected by that. You can't compare outcomes without comparing starting lines. Now, here is the uncomfortable truth on the other side. Some African immigrant communities placed extreme emphasis on professional careers. Doctor, engineer, lawyer, nurse. Failure is not an option. The cultural pressures produce results. But culture doesn't form in a vacuum. African Americans were historically pushed into labor pipelines, not professional pipelines. When you're locked out of universities for generations, your economic patterns evolve differently. That's not laziness. That's structural shaping. And then there's the psychological layer that nobody wants to talk about. Many African immigrants arrive with intact cultural identity. They know their tribe, their language, their lineage. African Americans had that violently stripped away. That identity disruption truly matters. Confidence, community cohesion, social networks, those things compound over time. Now here's the part that truly bothers me personally. Once you're in America, the police officer doesn't ask if you're from Ghana or Chicago before making assumptions. The broader society doesn't distinguish as much as we do. So while we're arguing about who works harder, we're both navigating the same racial perception system. And if you ask me, that's where the real questions live. Why are we even fighting each other over who deserves more credit? Instead of asking why two groups with shared ancestry were shaped so differently by history and policy. Because here's what I see. Immigration selection bias plus American racial history equals a comparison that was never built to be fair in the first place. And when that comparison gets weaponized, it becomes a political tool. One group made it, so systemic racism must not be true. That argument sounds clean, but it ignores centuries of accumulated disadvantage. At the same time, we also can't ignore agency, discipline, education, cultural expectations. Those matter too. This isn't about making excuses. It's about understanding context. So if I can get back to my original point, if Africans succeed in America, that's something to be celebrated. If African Americans succeed despite centuries of systemic barriers, that is something to respect.
I'm an African American. I'm the only person in the world who's had issues or who's faced discrimination. No, you're not. American black people are not the only people who've gone through hardship in this world. The same way slavery or the history of America has an impact on black people, history itself still impacts black people across the world today. And that's what a lot of you don't seem to understand. Your great-granddad or your granddad was a slave. Fair enough, innit? But so many African nations are still being affected by the West today. Look at Congo. As a clear example, it doesn't have to be slavery in your face for it to still be slavery in your face. Do you know where the resources in your iPhones come from? Congo. Them man are still going through it right now.
So black immigrants that come over to the United States, basically anybody post-slavery, oppression, all that different stuff, come in here dirt poor. I mean, have less money than you could imagine. I'm talking about they get here with $0 and they got to figure out a job. And they all move into the ghetto with other black people. So at that point, the playing field has been leveled. They're both impoverished blacks. No one cares where they came from. How come the immigrant blacks have a staggeringly higher success rate than American blacks when they both have the same skin color, they're both living in the same circumstances, and apparently they're both targeted by the system the same? Everyone wants to tell me it's not mindset. Mindset can't change.
When my family moved to the United States of America, I still have a family members there. You know what they were being told? They were being told that they should be careful, because the black Americans are dangerous. They should not be around them. They should not hang out with the black folks in the United States. Don't you know that the system that is put in place, yes, the system is against all the black folks in general. But once you as a black immigrant who came from Africa and go to the United States, because now the system knows that, you are not American citizens, number one. Number two, if you also did something, they can kick you out from the country as soon as possible, but they cannot do that to other black folks. So now what the system does is that they will favor you against other black folks, because some of these family members who immigrated to the United States, they will tell me that, they will just look at them in the eyes, tell them that, do not work with the black folks, do not work with these black people in America. They are dangerous. They are this, they are that, But why in reality, you know, all these things is not true. They are just doing these things, you know, like just to put pressure on the black folks, you know, just the minorities among them, you know, just to fight among them because of the system that is putting pressure on the black folks in the United States of America. And some of my family members will even tell me, for example, like that, if their friends, you know, go to a places to look for a job, you know, they will give them a job because they have an African passport, but they will not give the same job to the black folks in the United States who are looking for the same job. The system is just corrupting them for them to be frustrated, you know, so that they can just cause a chaos or things like that and put them to jail, because the system is all about that. But you do not understand this thing as a black man. But whatever freedom you have today in the United States of America is because of the black Americans. You have to know that. Whatever freedom a Chinese man got today in the USA is because of the black Americans. Whatever freedom I don't know, the Mexican has today in the United States of America is because of the black peoples fighting for the civil rights. You know, this is what you have to understand. So the system will favor you as a black immigrant also a little bit than the black Americans. This is how the system is put in place in the United States. So I think it is time for you people who thinks like this to open your eyes, you know, and work with the black folks in the United States to know that you are all in the same situation. The system is just playing you. You think that your success is because of your hard works, and these other black people, they do not work hard. No, in fact, the black people in America are more successful than the immigrants, the black immigrants who are in the United States of America. This is just the truth. So your hard works comes from the hard works of the black folks in the United States who have sacrificed their lives, you know. Their children were being raped, you know, over and over to fight for these civil rights. And now you got that freedom. So you think that because of your mentality and your hard work, you get more success than them. No, the system is against them. That is just the facts.
Do you know what happens when you come over here as an immigrant? The government got to pay for you. When you come over here as a refugee, why do you think the Ethiopians have these shops? We brought them in as refugees because we're trying to prove to the communist world. Okay? And that's why. Why do you think the Indians, 7-Eleven and all that? The Koreans, for the time everything you picked up, they made in Korea. But nothing we made that a Korean want, so the government made a deal with them. So we can get some of our money back. So we'll bring you in and loan you money to open up businesses, because you have to pay us the loan back.
I'm going to tell you as a black person, you must support black businesses. You ain't crazy. So all things being equal, this is what I would like for black people to understand. Jews do not support Jewish businesses just because they're Jews. That's not true. All things being equal, you as a Jew have the same quality, value, and service as all of your competition. The tiebreaker is, I'm a Jew, you're a Jew. You get the business. That's the tiebreaker. But all other things must be equal. So I could tell you as a black man, you must support more black businesses, but you ain't crazy. And you're not going to spend your hard-earned money if you can't get the same quality, value, and service for your hard-earned dollar anyplace else, right? So we have to ramp up our game. We have to compete.
I ain't never saw a soul food restaurant in Chinatown. And I don't think it's because they don't like soul food. It's just they're not going to patronize someone that is not their own. I don't blame them. Good for you. I appreciate you. I just wish more of us thought like that.
Most people don't know how to accept us, even though we made it out, even though we making art. And they don't know how to accept us in their circles now. So when they say you're going to rap for us, they don't even know if that's disrespectful sometimes.
Steve Jobs, when he died, he had $300 billion in his personal checking account. Did you hear me? And he couldn't make 58. I got an old trifling uncle in Chicago, stay drunk, can't read, can't write, cuss out everybody, and just keep laughing. He 101. Maybe Steve Jobs should have followed him.
Most of those stores never worry about scholarships for their children. We are the source of their children's scholarships to school. While we are buying their products and threatening our children, telling them we ain't got the money, their children are going to school on the money that we are giving.
Peace and love to all Black Americans. Peace and love to all brothers and sisters. I am very happy that you are watching me. May God bless your family. May God bless your hustle. May God bless everything that your hands touch. Now, if you are watching me and you are a Black American and you are proud to be a Black American, I want you to write down there in the comment section, I am a proud Black American, or just drop down a fist emoji in the comment section. Now, going back to those clips of some of those arrogant immigrants, I want to share with you my own personal story. For those who don't know me, my name is T.A. I am an African and I am a proud African, even though I am not proud of what some of my brothers and sisters are doing to y'all there in America. When I was in high school, I had many classmates who came from rich families, rich by considering the standards of living here in Africa. And whenever we were having conversations with those classmates, they could tell me that one of their dreams was to be admitted by American universities. Many of them had dreams just to go to the USA. And the fact that their parents had enough funds just to send them to the USA. Yes, they went to study to America. 3 of them told me that they had white girlfriends. And I said, but America is not only for white people. Why are you all getting white girlfriends? Why not black girlfriends? And one of the stories that shocked me from one of them was how he told me that Black Americans here are lazy. Black Americans here misbehaves. Black Americans here have no discipline. Black Americans here are into drugs and other illegal activities. And I was shocked. I asked him, so you have interacted with all Black Americans for you to conclude like that? And he said, no, this is something that is known by every person here. These people are known just to act like that. It's not something that I have done a research about. It's something that is known by everybody. So you don't like associating with these Black Americans just because of those reasons. And I asked him, do you think that all Black Americans behave like that? And he said yes. And that made me to conclude that those friends were being fed by white supremacy. What was shocking was how these friends, even though they were talking about how they don't like Black Americans, they also kept telling me how they are trying to get into rapping. And something was not adding up. These people don't like Black Americans, but they like rapping? Why rapping is something that was invented by Black Americans? I didn't want to have an argument with those friends of mine, but it clicked in my mind that those friends were being fed by white supremacy. Now, this takes me back to those clips. Many immigrants who go to America are from rich families. I want you to understand this. You take the top 1% from Africa who can afford the visa fee, who can afford the plane ticket, who can afford the tuition fees in America, and you take them to America. They are from rich families, they are from good schools in Africa, because to go to American universities, you have to perform well. They arrive in America, they study hard, they get admitted in those Ivy League universities, as you heard. 1% of students in Harvard are from Nigeria. All of those Africans who go to America, they are rich, they are smart, and they are from very good schools in America. And then after graduating, they work hard in America, they are able to achieve success. And then with that success, which comes with arrogance, they started saying that why can't Black Americans do the same? Come on, you guys, Black Americans who are successful, you can't even compare yourself to them. If you are talking about Black Americans who are successful and those immigrants who are successful, these immigrants have nothing to say. But all they do is to compare themselves to the poor Black Americans. They don't look at those highly successful Black Americans, they only look at those poor, struggling Black Americans, and they say, why can't they do what we have done? Some of y'all can easily get loans from the banks, you can get grants, you can be invested in by investors, But many of the smart black Americans who are having very good ideas cannot get funds to get their ideas going. You don't know this, you're not aware of this, and then you keep coming with this disrespectful rhetoric on internet, disrespecting black Americans. This is very sad. It is time for immigrants in America to understand how the system in America works. And the time you guys will be aware of that, you will stop disrespecting black Americans. You will stop coming up with this harmful rhetoric on internet. I respect black Americans for explaining this to these immigrants in a respectful way. And I respect all of those creators who keeps coming up with this interesting explanation just to educate these immigrants. I know you black Americans, you've got no head to these immigrants. All you want is respect from both sides. Peace and love to y'all. Thank you for watching. I want you to like the video if you have enjoyed watching it. I want you to drop down in the comment section. What do you think about these immigrants who keep saying that they are more successful than black Americans? See you next time. Ciao.